Good morning, guys. Everything new under the sun. Prepare for lockdown. This is an interesting article. I thought I would cover it. It's like I say, it's kind of interesting to read through it. It's one of those things that you need need to be prepared for the things coming upon the world. I think it's biblically sound to be prepared for certain events as they come upon you, especially if you know that certain events are coming. One biblical example is Noah in the ark. God told Noah to start creating a boat, start making a boat, and he made it over the span of, like, what was it, 70 or 100 years? It was a long time, anyways, the time in which Noah had to build the ark, and he was forewarned of that. Likewise, you have Joseph in Egypt, where he was given the dream about the skinny cows and the fat cows, which meant that 7 good years were coming, and then 7 bad years were coming. And so what did he do? Well, he prepared in Egypt. He created storehouses. He stored up food during the 7 good years for the 7 bad years. So he was wise and he stored up. So it's good to prepare for situations that are coming. This article is kind of in reference to the midterm elections and the civil war that people say is coming on the U.S. But I think it's a good thing to be knowledgeable of, to understand, to be aware of, for any situation, whether it's a hurricane going through, inclement weather. It could be for financial collapse, economic trouble. It could be for any situation where services are stopped. Even when you have a hurricane and you have the power go out, you have the lack of services, lack of gasoline, maybe the lack of electricity, and you need to be prepared for these things. So this article is interesting. It's seerhedge.com. Are you prepared for a lockdown? It says tensions are incredibly high in the United States right now. I realize that over the past 3 years, the author says. So I'll just say that they're high enough that all hell could break loose at any given moment, given the right or wrong application of fuel to the flame. The number one thing you can do for your situation is keep your family safe and be prepared for lockdown. So that includes storing food, preparing to defend yourself, knowing where safe places are. If you want to get into the lefty liberal safe place conversation, when times are hard, you need to have a good record of where safe places are, especially if you live in a city and something comes down the pipe, and a terrorist attack or a shooting, and shootings are happening a lot more these days in cities. You need to be prepared to find cover, to hide, and to get home quickly. So this was interesting. I'm not going to read it all, but it says, are you prepared for a lockdown? As a situation in the United States devolves, how prepared are you really if you had to go into lockdown mode and keep your family safe at home? How long would you last with the supplies on hand? And this is something I've spoken of in the past. Do you have a week's supply of food? Do you have a month's supply of food? If you rationed it, could you survive 2 months, 3 months? Do you have seeds for the next growing year? If you need to start a garden, if things got that bad, things will get that bad in the 7-year tribulation, and things may get that bad as well prior to when I believe the economic collapse is going to happen. Whether the next few weeks lead to pandemonium due to violent protests provoking some type of martial law, the article writer says, a prepared mindset, a defense plan, and a well-stocked home can keep you safe. So let's get down to the good stuff. So what does he say first? First, get home. If you happen to be away from home when violence erupts, your first task is to safely navigate home. Devise an efficient route. Keep a get-home bag in the trunk. Anything, extra cash on hand, etc. If the bank machines are down or inaccessible, you need to have some cash. You may need some food for the way home. Stash some supplies in the bottom of your child's backpack. And this is getting a little, what's the word? It's fear-mongering. Not really fear-mongering, but it's getting a little too severe, I think, when you're packing supplies in the bottom of your child's backpack. But hey, you never know. If your child goes off to school and it's a long ways away, maybe they need a little bit extra food just in case, the bus gets into an accident, or breaks down or something, and that child may be sitting on that bus for a long time. This, the situation, being prepared, can help in any situation. Avoid major thoroughfares. Find multiple routes home, and know basically how to get home in multiple ways. Finding hiding places along the way. If something goes bad and you need to get out of your car and you need to find a hiding place. Avoid groups of people, as people may be protesting, or groups of people may be targets for other individuals or situations that are going. Look at this one. Know when to abandon the plan to get home. So if it's not working out, if you can't get home, if you're going through a war zone, you may need to abandon getting home for that night. So I think that's interesting. Look at this. Preparing for lockdown, and I've discussed a lot of these in previous videos as well. Water. So water is the top of the list. You should set up the following: water, prescription medications if necessary, well-stocked pantry. And I've done videos about this before. And if you're a homesteader, and I'm kind of a homesteader, you have a pantry. You have some extra food in there just in case. And it's just smart as well, because when you're buying in bulk, which adds to your well-stocked pantry, bulk means you're probably getting food for a little bit cheaper as well than buying it in little bags that last maybe a week from the grocery store. So it serves two purposes: to prepare for unexpected events, and to also save money and be cost efficient. An off-grid cooking method like an outdoor burner. So many people have barbecues, so have backup propane canisters sitting around just in the event that you can't, electricity goes out, your electric range will not work, so you need a way to cook food. Lighting, to prepare for the event of an outage. We just had hurricane force winds go through here, and of course the power went out in the middle of the night, as it usually does. It seems to always happen in the middle of the night, and we had lights on hand, and we were ready for that. The other thing we do is fill up the bathtub with water, because if the electricity stays out and you need to flush the toilet, well, you can use some of the water from the bathtub, or in an emergency you could drink the water in the bathtub as well. Sanitation supplies. In the event that the municipal water system is unusable. Now, I'm on a well, but that well requires electricity to pump the water up. So if the grid goes down, I don't have access to pump the water up. Now, I do have a bilge pump, 12-volt bilge pump made for boats, but it's a great thing that you can use. Hook it up to a outdoor water hose, and you can potentially pump water up from your well on 12-volt power. So that's something I have. I just bought a 12-volt bilge pump just for the potential situation where we needed to do that on 12-volt power. So I've got kind of stocks and supplies and electronics and hardware that may be needed at that point in time. What are the key things? Water, food, and shelter. It says keep a diverse survival guide. That's always good to have. It's always also good to be out of the city. Alternative communication devices like walkie-talkies, hand crank radios. If there's any warning broadcasts going over the radio, like in a disaster situation like a hurricane, there's going to be updates over the radio. So you want a radio that will continue to work for hours on end, potentially. So a wind-up or a solar-powered one is a great idea. And they finish up with off-grid entertainment, I guess, for the kids and stuff, to keep your mind occupied so you're not worried about what's going on. Try to stay under the radar. I think this is important, and I'll finish off with a couple of these things here. This is key, because when you live in the country, you're kind of under the radar. You're on the radar if you're in the city, because that's where people are going to be congregating. That's where the grocery stores are. That's where people are going to be looking for food, and potentially where violence is going to break out. And so stay under the radar, get out of the city, and if you live in the country, that's kind of the best place to be, because you have the most options. But it says keep all doors and windows locked, put dark plastic over the windows so people can't see lights on it inside, basically, or see activity. Keep pets indoors, don't answer the door, keep everything locked. Many home invasions start with an innocent-seeming knock at the door to gain access to your house, because that's the easiest way in. So if they can just knock and you open the door, they don't have to smash windows. Keep cooking smells to a minimum, because people are going to smell this. If you're barbecuing, people are going to smell meat on your barbecue, and if they're hungry, because the grid has went down and all their food is expired, they may smell that and come on over. So, and you may not have enough for everybody. Keep family together. Get Keep everybody together. Remember, first responders may be tied up. Firefighters, police, etc. They're going to be hitting the most major situations where people are running cars into banks and knocking over bank machines. They're not going to be able to come to your house when an unarmed individual is coming knocking, trying to steal some food because they're starving. The last part of it gets into defend your family, and I won't get into that, but firearms, um, beans, what is it? Beans, bullets, and bread, something like that. Beans, bullets, and something or other. I'm sure everybody on the who's listening to the video will remember what that is. The 3 Bs. But yeah, be prepared. Have options to get out of there, and quick. And then it says stay home, because generally the home is the most safe place, and you never want to be in the middle of crowds in the middle of the city where other things could be happening. So an interesting article about really that everybody should have it and think about and be prepared for, and hopefully you're prepared with a couple of weeks of food, considering that you're going to ration it for any potential trouble event. And you talk about the midterms, I guess, starting today in the U.S., and who knows what could start. Economic collapse could happen tomorrow. The Dow futures are down on CNBC, I see, probably because of the midterms. People are pulling cash out of the markets because of the volatility of the situation and the unknowns about the midterms. And other people are warning that civil unrest could be the outcome of the situation. So these things are important to keep in mind, and just check out the article. I definitely recommend it. Something to look at. And I'll leave it there, guys, and you can check that out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.